1, 2, 3. The Salute to Max Rain is a very popular piece of pipe band music that is quite typical for pipe band drummers in that it uses a lot of finger and thumb control. This is a skill that gets talked about very early on and is subsequently developed over many months and years in a player's development. The idea is to refine your finger and thumb technique to the point where your playing becomes smooth and effortless, even when you're playing fast and with lots of notes. There are lots of exercises designed to develop finger and thumb control, but the one I like the most and have taught for many years now is called 8-4-3-2-1. It's really just an adaptation of the Stone Killer exercise or Joe Morello's Master Studies book. Here's the exercise played starting on the right hand, then again starting on the left hand, and repeated again and again, as all good exercises should be. 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice how the right hand fingers follow the bounce of the stick, while similarly the left hand thumb does the same job. The reduced numbers on each hand as the exercise progresses is important for stick control between the hands, and the single stroke run on the end is one very practical aspect of what the exercise is all about. However, finger and thumb control is used in many aspects of pipe band drumming, not just single strokes. The technique is refined enough at this stage for me to not have much wrist movement in either right or left hand as the thumb and fingers bounce the stick at tempo. This is efficient playing and something to work towards. There are drummers out there who have become experts at finger and thumb control, not only in the basic movement, but in developing a variety of heights, volumes, tone, and tempos, all from the fingers and thumb. Of course, there has to be some development to get to this point, so let's break the technique down and try to build it back up to this stage. In this example, I'm training my fingers to open in response to the bounced note. Some important points to remember here is that the initial throw of the stick is executed with an upstroke and downstroke movement as discussed in detail throughout the online courses. That movement has to be comfortable first. The fingers opening in response to the bounce is the next step in that development, and one can't come before the other. The basic upstroke and downstroke is paramount to everything that follows it. Once the fingers have opened in response to the bounce of the stick, and if everything has stayed in place, you should be able to simply close your fingers to bring you back to your starting point. Bear in mind this is just an exercise to get your fingers responding to a bounced stroke. It's an exaggerated version of the movement you'd typically end up using. In this next example, I'm not going to return the stick to its starting position. Instead, I'm going to close my fingers and then immediately open them again in response to the bounce. If I continue to do this and gradually add some tempo, then I can get the stick moving without any stops between them, and eventually I'll end up with continuous bounce notes using my fingers only with little to no wrist movement involved. This creates a very light stroke, open sounding in tone, and good for single stroke runs, doubles, and really anything that needs medium to fast, unaccented bounce notes to be played. The left hand is of course a different grip and a very different movement. However, the theory remains the same. The stick is eventually to be bounced using just the thumb with little to no wrist movement when played at tempo. Using an upstroke and downstroke again, a throw of the stick in the left hand is then followed with the fingers releasing the stick and the thumb following the bounce back along with the wrist. Try to not catch the stick using your fingers until the bounce reaches the halfway point. The tendency will be to catch the stick as soon as it hits the drum, but that won't allow the full bounce to happen, so it's important to let the stick bounce back as far as it can before catching it. When played slowly, this movement requires more wrist than the right hand, but at tempo, you'll see the wrist can be removed from the action also. Once you've caught the stick in the middle position, just turn your wrist down to get back into your starting point. If you turn the wrist back and you're not in the same starting position, then something has shifted out of alignment during the initial throw of the stick. Again, a lot of this goes back to just being able to play the basic upstroke and downstroke well. The more advanced techniques tend to elude those who don't spend enough time in developing the basic turn of a stick. If you continue to regenerate the bounce, then you'll end up with this type of thing. As in the right hand version, a little bit of tempo will get the stick moving continuously, which is what we're looking for. More speed and the wrist won't need to move very much at all. This leaves a lot of the wrist and forearm movement to be able to play the accented notes, buzzes, and other sounds, while the fingers and thumb play the smaller unaccented and bounce notes. Your hands can become very efficient at playing a wide variety of sounds when you separate the task of each unique sound to a certain piece of technique. The finished exercise has the initial throw of the stick with the forearm and wrist upstroke and downstroke movement, then immediately into the bounce notes where the fingers and thumb take control. This is the first of a series of exercises that use the 8-4-3-2-1 template as the basis for working through different techniques, needed not only to bounce the stick, but to also add a variety of accented notes, grace notes, drags and buzzes. We'll go through some of the variations in other videos. For now, let's leave with another well-known exercise, this time from Alec Douthart's Book 1, Single Stroke Exercises. This incorporates the accented note, which we'll add into the 8-4-3-2-1 exercise in future videos. Enjoy your practicing, and we'll see you again in the next video.